Yo, what's up everybody? This is Unpunk. I'm gonna bring you a little theory time video today about DLC 3 and kind of leading on to DLC 4 and where that leaves us off for the finale of the Ether storyline. But before I get into it, I want to just let everyone know that the leaks, the data mined information, the things that I have been talking about subtly over on Twitter, whatever, is not going to be in this video. For all of you that don't want spoilers of actual information that I might have that might actually be happening in DLC 3 or later, I will not be discussing any of that information in this video, so everything that's in this video is just a theory. So again, I want to reiterate that this will not cover leaks, this will not cover data mined information, anything that comes from any sources that is not confirmed or already released by the storytellers themselves, Treyarch or Black Ops 4 in the game. Now, biggest thing I want to touch on is the fact that I am pretty damn confident that DLC 3 is going to be a Nuketown, Tranzit, Moon map. Now, I have lots of factors going against and proving that. The first fact actually is technically a leaked data mined information sound file that I know people like the Gaming Revolution and a few others in the community have been talking about a few weeks ago, 2-3 weeks ago, maybe a month ago, I don't remember the exact time frame, and that is the Tranzit loading screen music has been remastered. Now, a lot of people are saying it's in the files with the gestures for blackout so you can dance and all that stuff, and it might be a remaked audio in that sense, but I don't think so, and for two reasons. One that actually Gaming Revolution himself was talking about the fact that it is a remade sound file, not a duplicate copy of the Tranzit loading screen. So it sounded a little bit different than the original, and it sounds remastered and remade. Now, all the other remastered emotes and dances we've seen with different loading screen musics, for example, the Barn Burner, the Buried remake music thing dance, that has the exact same music as it did in Buried's loading screen. Whereas this one from Tranzit does not. It is a different sound file entirely, completely remade. So with that being said, I do think that we're going to see Tranzit in one way, shape, or form in DLC 3. And if I do recall correctly, Tranzit bus, the bus at Tranzit, can be heard while playing Nuketown, Zombies, and Black Ops 2. Now, if you take that information, you can assume that the Tranzit location and or the bus route, or one of the bus routes from Tranzit, as we know there is multiple, A, B, maybe C. I don't know if there's a C, but I do know there's an A and B, which B we obviously have never seen in game. You can take that information into the fact that if you're at Nuketown, you're in a relatively close area to Tranzit. Now, another thing we know from the intro trailer that we have gotten for DLC 3 is that Samantha is free. In one way, shape, or form, she is not trapped in the MPD like she normally would be at the time of Nuketown. Now, Nuketown does happen right before Tranzit happens in the storyline, if I am remembering correctly. Because of the fact that the Moon events happen, launching the nukes. One blows up near Nuketown, which you see in the ending of any Nuketown match. You see a nuke explode and it blows up the map, as well as that's what causes Tranzit to happen. The Moon destroying the Earth with all the nukes, that causes Tranzit to happen. Our Victus crew is there. I don't remember if they are there beforehand or not, but nonetheless, the events of Tranzit are set in place from Moon, which you guys all know. Now, the reason I think that we're going to be going to the Moon, Tranzit, and Nuketown in DLC 3 is the fact that Samantha is free from the MPD. And I think that during DLC 3 or before, we have traveled somehow to the MPD and released Samantha. Thus, stopping the events of Moon from ever happening. Now, I don't have a lot to go on that's going to happen, besides the fact that Samantha is free. But I do believe that somehow or sometime during DLC 3, we will either be releasing Samantha or, again, already have released her and stopping the events of Moon from happening by either going there ourselves or interacting with something on Nuketown that stops something at Griffin Station or whatever. Just like in The Rise and Drac, how we blow up the moon instead of going to the moon, and all the different correlations in the story. I do believe that we're going to stop the events of Ultima's crew on Moon, which then stops Transit from happening. Which would make a lot of sense. If Transit doesn't happen, that means that Nuketown wouldn't get blown up. And that means that we could possibly be traveling to Transit during DLC 3. It could be a second part to the map. We could be taking Bus Route B, which I think would be a hilarious troll from Treyarch to allow us to finally see Bus Route B. And again, we do know that Transit and Nuketown are near each other. And if we stopped the events of Moon, Transit wouldn't happen. And in the sense of Transit wouldn't happen how it did happen. But we also know that the Broken Arrow facility at Transit is a big part of the story from Transit. Treyarch also recently changed their profile picture to the Broken Arrow facility's logo. It even says Broken Arrow on it, so we can confirm that that's what that is. And I'm really under the assumption that we're going to take this Bus Route B somewhere from Nuketown at some point during the Easter egg to be able to go to Transit and go to maybe a Broken Arrow facility that isn't destroyed from the nukes, or maybe we'll be able to see Transit in what the original form of it would be, without the fog, without the lava, without it being destroyed. I'm really, really leaning towards that something that's going to happen. Now, another thing that I think is going to happen during the events of DLC 3 is that we're going to be collecting one of our crews, whether it's the new Primus crew with our leader Nikolai and the new Richtofen, or our Ultimus crew, or something along those lines. I do believe that one of those crews is going to be sent out to collect the elemental crystals, shards, whatever they are called, to build the original staffs. Now, the reason I think this is ever since we saw the Blood of the Dead cutscene, we saw that the Primus characters went through 4 separate teleporters. And I think each one of them, with the exclusion of one character, maybe that being Nikolai, since he's the new leader, needs to collect one of 3 crystals. Because if you assume that the crystal you saw in the director's cut video for Blood of the Dead was the magma or fire crystal for the original fire staff to be crafted with, then you can assume that 3 other characters could potentially go and collect 3 other elemental crystals: ice, lightning, and wind. Now, there's 2 thought processes I have off of that. Either 3 of our characters could be going on 3 separate missions during the events of DLC 3, and maybe Nikolai is our lead on DLC 3. The new Nikolai leader is heading up whatever other team we have. Maybe we have a correlation with the Ultimus from Classified, and they're going to be assisting, with Nikolai, or something along that during the events of DLC 3. Or maybe there is a completely separate thought process of that we might collect the 3 remaining shards, crystals, elemental stones to make the original staffs, which again is just a theory that we're going to do that in DLC 4, but it does seem very likely that we're going to do that, which we'll get into in just a second. But I'm thinking that maybe there's a possibility we get all 3 of those remaining elemental crystals in DLC 3. And the thought process I had off that when I was talking with a buddy last night was there could be 3 separate areas within Nuketown, Transit, and Moon that they are collecting Element 115, harvesting Element 115. Something along those lines is happening on each of the 3 maps. There's the excavator on Moon, which I know is doing some excavation of 115. There is the Nuketown drill, is using the drill to drill energy or gain energy from 115 deposit or a meteor or something of 115. that crashed down by Nuketown. And then the third location is actually at a Broken Arrow facility within Tranzit. Because we see in the comics, one of these comics that came to mind, which a friend showed me the other day, was that the Victus crew says this, which I'll read and I'll also have on screen. It shows a blue crystal that looks like it could be the ice crystal. And it says, it's the element, referring to element 115. This stuff is what's responsible for the BIOS, which again, we don't know what those are yet. We haven't seen those, but we can assume that they might be something we'll see in this map if the events of Tranzit, again, don't happen, because Moon doesn't happen from the Ultimus crew, because we now know that the Ultimus crew is in a different timeline. They have traveled now. The ones that we rescued from the hangars had already saw their moon blow up, but they are now in a different timeline with the moon that hasn't blown up. So they say that the responsible for the BIOS, when you powered this place back up, it caused it to become active, causing them to become active, referring to the BIOS again. I was the only person to get out of here. I told them everything was lost, including that. Broken Arrow was so damn secretive, hardly anyone in it even knew this place existed. It was the only way to stop them from doing this again. Now, I don't know exactly the full premise on this clip here from the comics. I don't exactly understand what's going on here, but I do believe that that could reference Tranzit or a Broken Arrow facility near Tranzit, possibly having one of the 4 elemental crystals, and they're just mistaken it for element 115 itself. So if we go by that logic, we now have the magma crystal from Blood of the Dead. Additionally, the Tranzit crew, the Victus crew, would have the ice crystal potentially from that image. It looks like it could be that. And then additionally, we could assume that we could get the other 2 crystals from the moon deposits. The element 115 that they're mining on the moon might have one of the elemental crystals in that mixture of somehow. And then the same could be from the deposit that is at Nuketown itself. Now, if this all comes back together, we would have the 3 crystals as completion from this map and be able to move on to DLC 4, where we would have all 4 crystals we need to build the original staffs. And man, do I think it would be freaking cool if our Primus crew, the crew that made duplicate staffs of the original staffs, ends up later in their lives making the originals. And I think that would be pretty crazy to see. And then obviously it would be a great war, and they would use the staves to stop Monty or Shadow Man or whoever is the ultimate evil of the game, which I assume at this point is Dr. Monty, but again, I don't know for sure. But to kind of summarize, with all the leaked information that has come about Tranzit and the different things they've said, how we'll see Tranzit again, I believe Jason Blundell said we will see that map again, or hinted at the fact that we'll see it again, and that they had bigger plans for it, and they wanted it to not have fog, and they wanted it to be not with the lava and all this certain way. They had a different envisionment for it, but the PlayStation 2 locked it down. Maybe they're using this DLC 3 as an opportunity to reimagine Nuketown, make it better, allowing us to visit Tranzit, troll us a little bit with Bus Route B, and also allow us to go to the moon one last time, because Moon 3, why not, guys? I think that'd be hilarious. And a way to basically get Samantha out of the MPD. Another thing someone brought up that I thought was interesting, I don't believe this will happen, but maybe like Ultimus Richtofen traded bodies with Samantha, maybe the new Nikolai leader, the new Nikolai that is now the leader of this Primus hybrid crew, whatever we want to call them, is possibly gonna trade bodies with Samantha and the MPD when they release it. But again, this is all just speculation. I really, really would love to see all of this happen. I would love a map that has Bus Route B in it, that has Tranzit in a more original, undestroyed form, allowing us to see sections of the map we maybe didn't see, or allow us to go to a new facility or Broken Arrow facilities we didn't go to before or wasn't available to us in the original Tranzit. I would really love to see this all come to light, and I think that the new Tranzit loading screen music that we heard from the files could potentially be the new loading screen music for DLC 3 entirely. And if you put the logic together, new loading screen music of Tranzit plus Nuketown is the loading screen image, and we know we're going to have the MPD and Samantha being released and all of that happening from the trailer as well as from the teaser pictures. It would make sense that these 3 maps could be pushed together. Now, I know a lot of people might be upset about this idea and could potentially be like, oh my gosh, they're just throwing recycled content, Revelations all over again, but just hold on tight. I think that they'll do it right this time. They heard our feedback about Revelations and how we didn't like the way they did it. From what I heard generally, the community wasn't too fond of the map design. So maybe we'll get a better version of a similar style so they can give us some remakes, some remasters. And I honestly do have a lot of hope for DLC 3 and 4, and I think it's going to do a really, really good thing for the story and hopefully conclude it really well. And I really do have hopes for the weapons and the wonder weapons and all of that will be coming with DLC 3. And I haven't felt excited enough to make a video talking about theories and what I think is going to happen in probably over a year. And this just gets me very excited for next Tuesday. 1 week from the time of posting this video, you guys will be playing this brand new map. And that is so cool to me that Treyarch still got us on the hype train. We may all not like Black Ops 4. We may bash them for how Zombies has been. We may bash them for their storyline being shitty. But at the end of the day, the true zombie fans are going to be hyped as hell to play this map and hyped as hell to play DLC 4 and finish off this story. And I pray to whatever that they do this right. Now again, I could have some information that is misunderstood or I misinterpreted or I misremember. So if you guys have any corrections for anything I said in this video or anything that contradicts itself or anything along those lines, please feel free to drop a comment and let me know. Love to start a discussion with everybody here and get this got some discussions going on in a friendly manner. I might meme back a little bit, just gonna warn you guys. I'm not taking things too serious anymore, and I'm just here to have a good time and talk some stuff, some story, get some theories out there, and enjoy the rest of this DLC season for Black Ops 4 Zombies, because I think they're really gonna pull out a whole bunch of wheels, twists, turns, and they're really gonna put the fire on the burner this time. So thanks everybody for checking out this video. I really appreciate everybody's support. Let me know again what you think of my theory here. Correct me if I'm wrong anything down in the comments. And well, we'll see you guys soon. Peace.